Okay, let's look at section 6.3, binomial radicals. Binomial radicals. Okay, a binomial means two terms, and a radical is a radical symbol thing that we use a lot. All right, the first thing I want to do is just make a little note here at the top, just a matter of fluency. So if I say the square root of any number, let's say 7 times the square root of 7, that's just 7. You could take 7 times 7 and get 49, and then take the square root of that and get 7. But when you see something, if it's the square root of the same number twice, just jump to the number. Don't think of anything else. Okay, binomials means that we are adding and subtracting. It means we have a polynomial of two terms with a plus or minus sign between them. So really we're talking about adding and subtracting radicals. So let's go ahead and add or subtract some radicals. How about 5 square root of 2 plus 7 square root of 2? Well, this is much easier than it might look. 5 plus 7 is 12. Square root of 2. So this is like if I said 5x plus 7x, you would say it's 12x. If you have a basket full of square roots of 2, okay, and in one basket you have 5 square roots of 2, and in another basket you have 7 square roots of 2. How many square roots of 2 do you have altogether? 12. That's it. Okay, let's look at one that's a little more exciting. And I'm going to leave a line up here to do some scratch work. So 3 square roots of 2 plus the square root of 8 plus 2 square root of 32. Okay, now as it is, I can't add them. You can't add them if the radical is different. Okay, so I can't take square roots of 2 and add the square roots of 8. That's like you can't add x's and y's together. But I've set this up so that something will happen. What is square root of 8? Simplify this. You can use your square free chart, or maybe you know this is just 2 square roots of 2 from having done it so many times. So the square root of 8 is really 2 square roots of 2. And the square root of 32 is 16 times 2, so that's 4 square roots of 2. Okay, let me clean this up just a little bit before I move on. So 3 square root of 2 plus 2 square root of 2, and 2 times 4. Multiply those numbers. 8 square root of 2. And now that I've done that, now they're all square root of 2. So now I can combine like terms. Well, combine like radicals. Okay, if 2 of them were the same and 1 of them was different, just combine the 2 that are the same. But here they're all the same. So 3 plus 2 is, well, 2 and 8 is 10, plus 3 is 13. 13 square root of 2. That's it. Let me switch up my colors a little bit here. So just a little review on the multiplication. When you're multiplying, I'm going to FOIL something in a second here, so we need to cover this real quick. If I have 2 square root of 3 times 4 square root of 5, well, you multiply things that are in the same place. So the number out front, the 2 and the 4, multiply those together. That gives you 8. And the numbers on the inside, 3 times 5 gives you 15. So 8 square root of 15. Okay, this is kind of like you could reduce things if the indices were the same. You could multiply if the indices are the same. So the 3 and the 5 are both under that index of 2, so they go together. The 2 and the 4 are both out front with no index, so they go together. All right. Let's see. Next here, I'm going to have something to FOIL. So I'm going to have 2 binomials. I'm going to multiply 2 binomials together. So let's say 2 plus square root 5 and 3 minus 2 square root 5. And to do this, let's FOIL. I'll go ahead and write the letters out. I don't always do this. I mean, we use FOIL so that we can work quickly. We could use a grid as well, but I want to get done quickly. I don't want to spend all day doing my math. So the first 2 is 6. The outside 2, well, the 2 times 2 gives you 4, and there's no square root here, so just drag that along. This is like 2 times 2x. That'd be 4x. Well, negative 4, right? So negative 4 square root 5. On the inside here, square root 5 times 3, that's 3 square root 5. Okay? The 3 there is not under a square root. The 5 is under a square root. You can't combine them. Just write it, 3 square root 5. Finally, the last one, square root 5 times negative 2 square root 5, that's going to be negative 10. Okay? The square root 5 times square root 5 is 5, times negative 2 gives you negative 10. So like I said up at the very top, anytime you have the same square root, it just becomes that number. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. For my final step, I'm going to combine like terms. 6 minus 10 gives me negative 4. Negative 4 plus 3 gives me negative 1. Square root 5. So negative 4 minus square root 5. If these weren't the same, this would have gotten a little messy, but because they were the same, you can combine things together. So it's possible that you'll do this foiling step for a problem and not have anything at all to combine. And that's okay, just so long as nothing combines. Let's do one more. We're going to rationalize a denominator of a binomial. Okay, to do this, we're going to do this like we did it. Let me scooch that up. Like we did it with the complex numbers. So you find the conjugate of this and multiply. So we're going to multiply by 1 minus square root 3. And what do we get? We would FOIL the bottom here. But if you remember that the outside and the inside will cancel, you just have to Florida, the F and the L. So 1 times 1 is 1. Square root 3 times negative square root 3. The square root times itself just gives you that number. And a positive times a negative is negative. In the numerator, distribute the 2. Okay, and let's see if we can simplify this at all. The denominator becomes negative 2. And yeah, this will simplify a little bit more. So 2 will go into everything, but that'll be a negative. Let me do this just to make sure I don't mess up that negative. Okay, so what I did here, because I have a lot of negative signs flying around, is I took the negative 2 and I put it underneath each one, each term in the numerator. Okay, so this would be negative 1, then minus a negative, plus square root 3. So both the 2's will cancel out. Positive divided by negative, those kinds of rules there give you the negative 1 there. 2's cancel out, minus negative, plus square root 3. And those are your notes for section 6.3.